Hi there, my name is Stephanie and today I'm going to teach you how to make a headband. It has elastic in the back for comfort and fit, and it's sort of wide at the top and narrows down for a little bit of shape. Really easy to do. All you need is 0.2 meters of a knit fabric, but if you don't have that hanging around the house, t-shirts work great as well. Something that has a little bit of stretch to it is what you're looking for. You'll also need to find a piece of 1 inch wide elastic. You could go narrower, use a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch elastic. This is just 4 inches long for that back piece of our headband. And then I've included the free PDF downloadable pattern in this tutorial, so print that off and we will get started. This headband works the best if you place the pattern on your fabric with the stretchiest part going across this way. So I have a net and it's stretchier in the crosswise direction, therefore I've put my pieces on my fabric like this, and I've labeled this on the casing as well. For those of you who have a rotary cutter and ruler at home, it's probably easier just to cut the rectangles out without the pattern. This one is a 14-inch long by 9-inch wide rectangle, and our casing is 8 inches long by 4 inches tall. So if you don't have a rotary cutter and ruler, then obviously go ahead and stick with the pattern pieces for you so you get nice rectangle shapes. Your first step in sewing this headband is to fold your main piece in half, right sides together, and matching the long edge, you are going to sew just from this side all the way down to this side, following the 15 or the 5/8 of an inch on your guide. Once you've sewn the long edge of your headband, you're going to pin your casing piece the same way, except for you're just going to turn under the 1/2 inch on both ends when you pinned it together, so that it stays sort of tucked in when you sew it. So all I've done is I've just folded under 1/2 inch and then I've pinned them right sides together so that they stay curled in when we sew the long edge. So now I'm going to go and sew from here to there following the 15 line. So I've sewn my long edge of my casing piece, keeping my edges tucked in. You can go and flip these both right side out. So I've turned my main fabric. I'm going to go and do the same to this casing. And then you're going to give it a light press so that your seam lays in the middle of your headband so it doesn't show. So you don't want your seam right on the edge like that. You're going to keep it with the seam kind of running down the middle so it's on the back side. Now that you've pressed your headband, you're going to just pin down the short sides together. We're going to go in baste, which means increasing our stitch length. I will show you that on the sewing machine. And we're just going to follow the 10 line along those edges, no back stitch, so that we can gather in these edges and give it a little bit of shape. So I'm on my sewing machine here. I'm going to push my stitch length all the way over to a 4, so it's as long as it will go. And I'm just going to simply follow my 10 line on my throat plate so that I can do a line straight down here without back stitching. I can then pull on these threads to form gathers. Now that I've basted along the top edge, if you separate the 2 threads on the side and just pull on one of them, so I'm going to pull on my top thread only, and just gently, you're going to move these gathers along, and you're going to sort of shrink this edge to be just as close as it will kind of go together, just over 1 inch, so that your elastic can be secured. I can grab from the other side as well. Just make sure you're grabbing the front as well on this side, and you can kind of shrink them in on both ends so that they're nice and gathered and scrunched up. Go and do that to the other side of your headband as well. To prevent your gathers from kind of stretching out and falling loose, once you've pulled them as tight as you want them, you can tie your 2 threads together on each side. So I'm going to take my 2 that come off this side and I'm going to tie them together like I would my shoes. This just prevents it from stretching out while you're sewing it to the elastic. So go ahead and sort of tie off your ends to make it a little bit easier for you so that stays nice and scrunched tight. The next step is to attach your elastic to your headband. So with your 4-inch piece of elastic, you're going to keep your headband with the seam face up at you so that the nice headband is face down. And then you're going to take your 4-inch piece of elastic and you're just going to place it right on top of your gathered, overlapping it by about 1 centimeter, just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to sew across here just to secure it. I actually like to do a zigzag stitch to secure it. It just makes it attached to the gathers on this side a little easier. So I'm going to go ahead and zigzag across just like this. So I've just zigzag stitched my elastic to the edge of my headband. Now it's time to cover that, so it doesn't matter how ugly it looks, it's going to be covered with your casing. So I've attached a safety pin to the end of my elastic. I'm going to feed it through my casing here all the way along, and it's going to pull up and over where we joined it to our headband. So we're almost at the end there. So on this end, you can just leave your elastic hanging out on that end. On this end, you're just going to pull up your fold up and over where we just joined it to our headband to cover that sort of seam. It also gives it, again, a little bit nicer shape at the bottom and holds your gathers nice and smoothly. And the reason we folded under our casing when we sewed it together is now it stays folded under, easier for you to sew straight across. So you're going to put it in your machine and just close to that edge, just sew straight down. So I've edge stitched close to my fold across the one side. I have my elastic sticking out the other side, so without twisting your headband, I'm going to repeat it to this side. So those are still my gather threads. All I'm going to do is sort of on the seam side, make my elastic go underneath. And now I'm going to zigzag across here, not catching my casing. That will come up and over at the next step. So I've zigzagged my other side. Again, don't worry if some of your gathers overhang your elastic. This is actually pretty forgiving, and if your stitching isn't the straightest, because it's going to get hidden and pushed in with now our other side. So we're going to take our casing up and over our other side of our headband, keeping our fold tucked in. And we're going to repeat it for this side as well now. So we're going to, once you're happy with how it sort of looks, you're going to edge stitch close to that fold on this side. So I've edge stitched that side. Again, it's just a straight stitch close to the fold. You can even out now your casing and the gathers to cover that 4-inch elastic nicely. And that has sealed your headband. It is done. Way to go. I hope you like this project. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.